Awesome. We are live. Welcome, everyone. Another edition of Fixture Focus, our opposition match preview show with the upcoming match at Anfield this weekend. We are joined by Lee from the LFC Couch podcast. Lee coming to us from New South Wales in Australia. That's
Yep.
Neil's one of our big supporters, guy who watches nearly every episode of shows that we do, Neil, who's always in the comments. So he's from South Australia. So in your neck of the woods, this go around. Lee, thanks for joining me. How are you today?
I'm very good, Justin. Yeah, excited to be on the podcast and more excited for the game itself. So, yeah, happy days.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about just you before we get into the game. Interested in your story, how you said that you were English and now you're in Australia. How did that happen, and how did your Liverpool fandom start?
Well, the Liverpool fandom started a lot earlier than me becoming an Australian, so I'll start there. My grandfather was from Bootle, which is where Carragher was from. So big Liverpool man himself, very scouse. My father wasn't really into football that much, or soccer, should I say, being on this podcast. So naturally, I gravitated towards G, as we called him. I was born in '83, so during those '80s years, Liverpool were obviously the best in the world and won everything, all the leagues, European Cups, etc., and etc. So that's essentially how it all became Liverpool. And I just never looked back. We had some rough years, of course, during the '90s and the 2000s, and thankfully we've turned that corner now and can look a bit more promising going forward. As far as becoming Australian, I worked in Scotland for 5 or 6 years as a chef, which is where I met my now wife, Chelsea. She's Australian. So I just moved over here. Been here 10 years now, citizenship, and I have no intention of ever moving back home. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a great country. I love it. We were talking before we went live. I've lived there at a point, so in New South Wales as well, in Sydney. So love that. Love that country. Love the people. It's great. It's great. Let's talk about LFC Couch, where you come from in the media space. Can you talk to me a little bit about the origin story of LFC Couch as a whole? How and when it started, and then how you became involved with it.
Yeah, of course. Nish, as who you spoke to recently, he's the founder of the LFC Couch. Basically, it started with him wanting to be on other people's podcasts. He wanted to be into this media world, but obviously being on Twitter and only having 150 or so followers, not many people really wanted him on there, as he didn't have much of a platform. So instead, he just created his own podcast and invited anybody who was interested on to talk about it, and it essentially evolved from that. And now there's 11 of us that contribute, each in our own way, and it's just become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as each year's come on. So fair play to Nish. He started it all and gave us the reins to do what we need to do, including this, of course, today. So yeah, he's very selfless in that way. He is on not a great deal of podcasts, if I'm honest, but there's 11 of us, as I said, and half of us are in the UK, half of us in Australia. One's currently over in Utah at the moment. And we all just do our bit to make it bigger and better.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. When did he start it around?
2015-16, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
So 5 years ago now. Pretty much when Klopp took over.
Okay, yeah, good time to start. Yeah, you guys definitely have built and maybe you said this, if so, apologies. When did you join the crew?
I joined That's a good question. About 2 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
My back home school friend Steve was already part of the couch.
Okay.
As he'd done a couple episodes with Nish, and essentially reached out to me and said, "Look, this is something you could probably get involved in." Like, he knew I loved talking, and I loved talking about Liverpool more importantly.
Right.
So he invited me on for one of his shows, and that was about it, really. After a couple, I was involved in their WhatsApp couch group, and I've just done more and more and more and more as each time passed. So thanks for him, really. Yeah.
And I know that, I mean, the last couple of years for Liverpool have obviously been super successful with a Premier League trophy, a Champions League trophy. Since you joined, what type of growth have you seen in the couch? Has it gradually grown? Has there been a huge spike in the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think naturally, like anything Liverpool related, has gone rocketed up since, the Champions League, then of course the Premier League. We've, as the couch, have grown pretty massively. I mean, the listening figures, I should say, not the viewing, because we're mainly voice only, but they have gone up and up and up more and more recently. So we're getting 4,000 or 5,000 listeners a show, about 3 or 4 shows a week. I do my own fantasy Premier League show every sort of Wednesday, Thursday, because nobody else is really interested in fantasy Premier League in the couch except for me. So, but yeah, we're getting a fair few listeners, and more as each week goes by, because we try and grow it through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the usual platforms.
Right.
And we just try and throw it in everyone's faces to give it a listen.
And I know you mentioned the shows. Is it more podcast based, YouTube based?
Yeah, very much podcast based. I mean, Nish does quite a few of the Facebook Live, Twitter Live feeds. And I think we will be starting to reach out a lot more on towards YouTube, and just more of a visual experience. I mean, we recently had one of the boys of Redmen TV, which is solely YouTube based. So I think we're going to start doing a bit more of this, a bit more face to face, and a bit more YouTube in front of a camera as opposed to behind the camera as time goes on. So
yeah, Redmen's massive. It's probably up there with Arsenal Fan TV in terms of the biggest sort of fan base. Yeah, I mean, it's massive, and award winning as well. They do a lot of great stuff.
They're sort of like the trailblazers.
Yeah.
For Liverpool podcasting /TV.
Yep. Yeah, we have ours is probably West Ham Fan TV. There's a couple. West Ham Fan TV, definitely pioneers in the YouTube space. The West Ham Way with Dave Walker and X. They're very popular as well. So yeah, we have the thing I love about the West Ham space, and I actually will ask you about this, because I wonder if it's a bit different between a smaller club relative to Liverpool, smaller club in West Ham versus a big club in Liverpool. I'm pretty ingrained in the West Ham media space. Obviously, with this, I do some writing as well on a couple different blogs. And I've reached out to plenty of people in the West Ham media space, and everyone has been super friendly, super nice. Majority of them have responded. Majority of them are willing to talk.
Yeah.
It seems like a very tight-knit community. There's not a lot of competitiveness. Everyone's sort of trying to build each other up instead of tear each other down.
Yeah.
In the Liverpool space, what's it like regarding that? Is it a pretty supportive community? Or
very similar. We try to promote as much as anything of anybody there is going. So as I said, Redmen TV, this is Anfield, the Anfield Wrap. Like, we will promote them as much as we promote ourselves, because at the end of the day, the more voices, the more people willing to do the right thing, the better, of course. I mean, of course, there's going to be the odd few bad eggs in there, and there always is. But as a whole, 99% of the Liverpool fan base and Liverpool media platform are very supportive and very, very, very friendly in the way they support each other. So, and that goes for saying whether it be, Arsenal, Tottenham, United, Everton. We're not, of course we have those rivalries with City, United, Everton. But no, as far as this is concerned, it's all fair play.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Let's pivot a little bit into the actual team now. Let's talk about some of the transfer business that you guys did about a month or two back. In my opinion, I think you guys had a fairly successful transfer window, at least from the outside looking in. You didn't lose too many big players. I mean, you did lose Dejan Lovren, Lallana. Lallana was definitely on the fringe of the squad, and Lovren had become, third, fourth choice center back.
Yeah.
And then you brought in some key guys. Diogo Jota from Wolves, who I thought has played so far pretty well for you guys, and then Thiago, who I think's played pretty well for you guys as well. What are your thoughts on the transfer business that you guys conducted, and are there any major holes in the squad currently?
Yes, I think currently we would take Lovren back in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I guess so.
Losing Van Dijk, thanks to an awful challenge from Pickford,
awful,
which for some reason wasn't even a foul.
We could talk about that for
we have Van Dijk anyway. I think losing Van Dijk is massive, regardless of if we had 20 centre backs or just one.
Right,
he is, in my opinion, and I'm sure in many others, probably the best centre back in the world in football right now. So losing him was always going to be massive. Of course, Fabinho has filled in, and he's been very, very good in the last couple of games. Ajax and Sheffield United last weekend. I think he got injured in that game as well, which of course doesn't help either. So, as I said, centre back is a big problem right now. But as far as a transfer business is concerned, I agree. I think we've had a pretty decent one. If we didn't get Thiago, it would have been pretty average. But Thiago is just full of class. I mean, we saw him for Bayern Munich towards the end of the last season in the Champions League, and he's just a conductor. Everything he does is silky. Everything he does is smooth, and everything he does is for a reason. The thing is with Adam Lallana, I always took the mick out of him for doing Cruyff turns when no one was around. And, albeit a decent player, and he had his moments under the Klopp's regime, but unfortunately for him, with Hendo, Thiago, Gini Wijnaldum,
he was never going to get inside,
etc. He just wasn't going to get a look in, unless, of course, there was a massive crisis in that area. So, Thiago, beautiful player. I mean, we saw him against Chelsea. We saw him against Everton. We're just a different animal on the pitch with him playing. He sees things that sort of no one else can really see in our side. Yeah. So he's phenomenal, and I hope he gets back fit soon. Diogo Jota, again, I didn't see him being as good a player as what he is at the moment. I thought he was more just going to be backup for Mane and Salah. But we've seen in the Ajax game, he came on when they took him all off. And against Sheffield United, he played in essentially a front four. So he is, and he scored, of course, against Sheffield United. So he's a very, very versatile player. So he can play anywhere across the top front three. And I think we'll see a lot more of him now. He's played a bit more, because usually Klopp, like he did with Minamino, Robbo, he doesn't like to play him a lot. He likes to get him ingrained in the way the team plays and the way the team works before putting him in. And we've seen a lot more of Minamino lately than we did sort of second half of last season after we bought him.
A lot more.
But I think Jota is going to be pretty constant fixture in this first 11 of Liverpool, pending in, of course. And I think also we got a Tsimikas from Olympiacos, just as backup really for Robbo.
Yeah.
Instead of using Milner whenever someone's injured, we can now use someone who's actually a left back.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I'm pretty happy with the business Klopp has done. We were looking likely to get Timo Werner early on.
I do remember that.
Look, I think it was money-based, really. I think the way Michael Edwards is working with Liverpool, he's not just going to throw money out the window. So once it became clear that Timo or RB Leipzig wanted more money, he was like, okay, we're done. We don't want him anymore. So Chelsea got him, and I'm happy for him. He scored a couple of goals last weekend, and I think he's going to be a quality player for the league. But I kind of wish we got him, to be honest.
Yeah.
But overall, pretty good business.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys had Werner, I mean, that attacking front would be, I mean, it's already incredible.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't even know. I mean, I wouldn't even know if Werner would get in the first 11.
Well, I think that was another big point in us getting him. I mean, I think he wanted to play every game.
Yeah.
And I think the way we play with Bobby Firmino, not sort of that typical striker, I don't think he would have played as many games as he would have wanted to.
Right.
He's not replacing Mane or Salah. That's just not happening unless we get like an Mbappe or someone ridiculous in that sort of world. Then they'll get him replaced, unless of course they're injured or whatnot. But I think he wants to play every game, which he is doing for Chelsea. So fair play to him.
No, I mean, I think Mane is your best player. Salah's second.
Yep.
That's just my opinion.
I agree.
I don't know their contract situations or their ages off the top of my head. I'm not quite sure. Is there any speculation that Mane and or Salah may leave in the next year or two?
Look, there always is. There's always rumors of Real Madrid coming in or Barcelona for either of them. I mean, they're top class players. They're world class players. I mean, we got Mane from Southampton for 30-odd million pounds, which at the time was probably, holy shit, well, I mean, that's a fair bit. I mean, for a player that's not really recognised. But he's been phenomenal ever since. And likewise with Salah, I mean, we got him from Roma for a similar sort of money. And then that first year he scored bloody 40-odd goals. So that money was immediately forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, as I said, I think there's always the big boys sniffing around. Look, they're both in their late 20s. So there's no immediate hurry to offload them. They've still got a few good years in them. And I just don't think, I think, if they're going to offer like Coutinho money, like 150, 200 million, you might have to think about it. But I don't think we're getting rid of them anytime soon, personally. I mean, guys could be thinking different in the club, but for me, I think it'd be silly to get rid of them because it's very hard to find somebody to do the same role that they do in this team.
Yeah, I'd agree. From a Liverpool perspective, there's no reason to move them on. I was sort of thinking, and I was assuming they were in their late 20s. They may be thinking, because if a Barcelona or a Real Madrid are probably the only two teams that are really going to turn their heads. So you may have one of them in the next year or two that says, maybe this is my last chance to play.
To be honest, they've won everything now. They've won the Champions League.
That's true.
Won the league. Let's go to greener pastures and try and win. Maybe even go to Paris where you can get millions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
Or go to Barcelona or even Italy, where that's becoming bigger and bigger as each year goes by now. So, the temptation's there. It's all about whether. I mean, I think Klopp is a massive, massive factor in this. If he was to leave, I think a lot of those players will be gone. They'll all walk because Klopp is the glue that holds this crew together. So
good point. Yeah.
If he leaves, then a lot of them will leave. But if he doesn't, then I think there's a whole lot of trust in Klopp and what he's doing with this team. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think, as I said, unless these big boys are coming in with their big money, they're not going anywhere. And that's the same for, Thiago, Alisson, Van Dijk, Trent, Robbo, Gini, Hendo. I don't think they're going anywhere for a little while.
Agree.
Unless they finish 7th or something stupid, which can happen.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested in, so I'm assuming coming into this season, expectations from your point of view, and probably nearly every Liverpool fan's point of view, was to, win the league and challenge for a Champions League. I mean, that would be really the only thing that would trump what you guys have done so far, is winning them, doing the double
in the same season. Yeah.
Given, and Man City's been has been more inconsistent than you guys have had. I would say that you guys haven't played your best.
No.
It hasn't been, and probably no fans probably has something to do with it. But then, you have sort of maybe not quite the high levels you were reaching last year, combined with now those massive injuries that we spoke to, Fabinho or Van Dijk and then Fabinho. Have your expectations changed personally?
No, not really.
Okay.
And let's not forget, we didn't have Alisson for a lot of this season so far either. And he's massive too in his own right. And we saw
you were starting our boy Adrian.
Yeah, well, let's you can have him back, in all honesty. As I said, I think the expectation is to win the Premier League first and foremost. I think we're in a pretty good spot to do so. I mean, Everton are top of the league at the minute, but let's be honest, they're not going to stay there. They're going to start crumbling down as soon as City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United all come back up to form. We lost 7-2 to Aston Villa. I mean, talk about consistency. We're not in that space at the minute, and I think, yes, the fans has got a big thing to do with that. The lack of pre-season has got to do with that. And of course, injury to key players has got to do with that. I mean, you look at Man City; they got beaten 5-2 to Leicester. They drew with you guys last weekend. So at the moment, it's just about who can get into that form quickest. And as soon as you do that, you'll start separating from the pack, and then it's hard to catch up. I mean, like you saw with us last year, we were 20-odd points clear early on. And we won the league.
It was over in January, to be honest.
Yeah, and we come back and just trotted to just get it actually done.
Yeah.
People will reflect on and say, "Oh, you've been pretty crap since February," but we'd won the league. Like, the motivation's gone. So, as I said, once we get back to winning 2, 3, 4 games in a row, I think we'll be all right. I think we'll win I think we'll retain the championship, personally. Champions League is a different animal. If we can avoid Atletico Madrid, we'll do all right. They just seem to have one number for some reason, and they're dirty as much as any other team. Especially now with bloody Luis Suarez up there as well. If we can at least get to like the semi-finals, maybe even the final, maybe even lose the final, and win the league. Of course, if we win one and lose the other, it's still all good. But if we win both, then just happy days. But I think we'll get the Premier League this year.
Yeah, I'm assuming the ultimate would be, to obtain the treble, do a United.
Yes, it is, but I don't think the FA Cup is as important now as it was back then.
True. True, and that's a shame, honestly, but it's true.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think there's bigger fish to fry and bigger money to win.
Absolutely, agree.
Yeah, and that's what matters now. So
I'm not sure. how much you've been following West Ham so far. But for us, we've had. I mean, if you looked at the fixtures before the season started, you look at West Ham's schedule and you go, "Whoa, how many points are they going to have after the first 6-7 games?" I mean, we started off with Newcastle at home, and that has been our worst performance, bar none.
Absolutely.
We looked dreadful.
Newcastle's best.
What was that?
And Newcastle's best performance too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Since then, though, we had Arsenal, Leicester, Wolves, Spurs, and City, and we've only lost one of those games. And to be fair, it was against Arsenal. And to be fair, I think we were.
You were better than them.
Oh yeah, I mean, arguably deserved all 3 points.
Absolutely, I agree. I watched that game and I thought exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
To be honest, Arsenal have been pretty average too. I mean, you guys have been fantastic. I mean, to hold City to a point is huge enough. To come back from 3-0 down to Tottenham in some bizarre game, and what a goal from Lanzini, by the way.
Yeah.
And again, you should have beaten Arsenal. So you guys have started off very well and probably better than what most people would have expected with the fixtures the way they were.
Yeah, I agree.
You boys, but yeah, again, you come into a different animal now at Anfield. So
right. Well, I mean, I want to ask you about it. Like, from a Liverpool fans' perspective, and you look at West Ham. I mean, what do you see? What are you worried about? Because I mean, we have been playing pretty well. I'm not saying you think you're going to lose or anything, but what do you look at and say, hey, we better watch out for that?
Well, before I heard the news of Antonio being injured, I would have said right there and there. So I think with Gomez and potentially Henderson playing as centre back,
really, wow,
is what I'm hearing. I would have been fearful of that, and I think it would have been a case of who can score more. But with Antonio injured, who would be playing up front for you guys?
Probably Sebastian Haller. He was our record signing 2 summers ago,
and he's fairly tall as well. He's fairly physical.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Same vein as Antonio. He's been playing very well since he scored 4 against Norwich last year. So
yeah.
But my actual concern is that centre back partnership. Right. So until I know who we're going to play, I'm not too sure what to tell you in that one. But with our front half, I think we've got enough to do the damage. Personally, we're 62 games unbeaten at Anfield. I mean that's something incredible, and I don't think we're going to lose. Personally, I don't think we're going to lose. That's all I'm going to say at the minute. But I hope we win, and I think we'll win. But I hope we don't lose.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's. I mean, we're hitting the 30-minute mark, so probably wrap this up soon. But obviously, I got to ask you, and you sort of hinted at it a little bit. A prediction for the match. What do you think the result will be?
I think we'll win. I think we'll get it done. Personally, I think 3-1, 3-2 maybe, because you guys are scoring and we're not defending very well. So I think we'll see a few goals, but I think we'll score more. And yeah, that's a bit more important.
That's the most important stat. Yeah,
that's right. So I think we'll get the win done, and hopefully we'll see Thiago back next week or for the Champions League. And I think we'll get the win done, but I think you guys won't be hanging any of your heads.
Yeah, I think when we went over there last year, I mean, we were unlucky to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some would say we should have won. And we have been playing well. Antonio is we're going to miss him tremendously. It will be interesting to see Haller up top, because the one thing fans have been super critical of the managers we've had over the last 2 seasons have been we have not played Haller to his strengths. When he was at Frankfurt, scoring goals, assists, and goals, he was playing with Jovic, who's now at Madrid, and someone else. He had guys that played off of him, and we haven't played that type of formation with him. Now we're playing a front three. Jared Bowen's cutting in from the right-hand side. Fornals is playing all right on the left wing, and then we have Antonio running off. I think this may be a time for Haller to shine. When we look at the back three, we've been playing a three at the back system. Moyes has done a fantastic job at organizing the defense, coaching them well. They are keeping their shape. They're obviously playing for the manager, something that they weren't really doing with Pellegrini. And they look to be very fit, a lot more fit than they were under Pellegrini and Bilic, in my opinion. And I think Moyes deserves a lot of credit for that. That all being said, though, I do agree with you that your front three, I mean, it's world class. It's a world class attacking trio. And I do think you guys will be slightly too much for us tomorrow. I do think we score. I do think we nick a goal. But it'll be tough to even get a point. I do think we play well. I do think we hold our chins high afterwards. But my prediction, I think, is going to be Liverpool 2, West Ham 1. I'd be happy. I just want a good effort from the boys. I don't want to get blown out 4-0. I just want a good effort from the boys. But yeah, like I said, your attacking trio it's world class.
And as we touched on before, I mean, losing to Liverpool at Anfield isn't anything to be ashamed of. Like we're beating most teams there, like if not all of them half the time. So, what's your take on Felipe Anderson? I know he's gone out on loan, but I think in this particular system with the three up front, I think he'd be having a field day. Personally, I think he's a class player, and when you got him, I was like, you know what, West Ham are looking all right now, but he just hasn't performed to how he should.
Yeah. It's a shame. His first year was pretty good. I think he had like 9 goals and 4 assists. We were warned when we signed him that he was a streaky player, and even in that first year, he was very streaky. I think like 6 of his 9 goals came within like a 2-month period. And his second season, I mean, it was just a drop off a cliff in terms of performance. The scary thing, Lee, is that as time has gone on, he does look a bit more disinterested. And maybe not disinterested, because I don't want to question his effort. He actually ranks the top 5 in our team in terms of tackles made. A lot of people slag him for his effort. I do think he gives effort. I think he has zero confidence at the moment. And as we know in athletics, confidence is massive part of the game. It's everything. Without it, you're not going to physically perform. I don't know if it's England. I don't know if it's being in England and he's not settled. I don't know if it's the physicality of the English game.
The weather.
I don't know. Although, you know, he's in Porto now. He's not playing that well either there. So I don't know if it's just a mental thing. It's a shame because I had a lot of high hopes for him after his first season. It just hasn't worked out. I'd rather have Fornals there, even though he's not a natural winger. I'd rather have him there.
Yeah, you'd rather have someone there who's probably lesser in ability, but is confident in the way he's playing. I mean, or playing in the system, I should say. I mean, I was very happy to see Bobby Firmino score against Sheffield United because he hasn't scored for a long time at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear a lot of criticism of Firmino on Twitter and on any sort of social media.
We'll take him.
Anything in the world should take him. I mean, the way he plays for us. I mean, yes, he wears number 9, and yes, he plays up front, but he's not a striker. Like he's not your Alan Shearer, your Antonio, your Rashford. He's not this kind of player. He's the player that drops back and lets the other two come up, or Naby Keita or Hendo or whoever it may be. He's I don't know what you call him. He's sort of like the the creator of it all. Like he is just the mastermind, and the way he plays is so selfless. Because many people in that position, a Brazilian number 9, I mean, a few spring to mind.
Oh yeah,
but he's just happy to support the others, which is amazing. Really, you don't see many of them in today's game.
I was about to say that selflessness is pretty rare.
Well, as I said, I'm happy he scored, and I'm happy to see him get on a score sheet. I mean, all of us Liverpool fans were crying for him to get on there. So I'm just glad he did. And as I said, talking of form, talking of Quint, bloody what am I talking about?
Anderson.
Confidence is what I'm trying to say.
Confidence.
Yeah. That will do well for him. That will do absolute wonders for him. So hopefully he scores again.
Yeah, it's funny once you see that ball go in the back of the net once, they tend to get back there in the back of the net a little bit more and more. Again, going back to the confidence thing, it's massive. So Lee, we'll wrap this up. Before we do, for everyone watching live, thank you very much for joining. As always, I appreciate it. But for everyone watching live, and then everyone who will subsequently watch this, where can they find your takes on Liverpool, on soccer? Where can they find content from the couch?
Yeah, so all of us couch boys, there's 11 of us in total. We're all on Twitter. We all share our views, whether they're right or wrong, on Twitter and on Facebook, of course. We do sort of regular podcasts, 3 or 4 a week on your usual platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, the usual shenanigans there. And that's pretty much it, really. You can contact us at the LFC Couch itself, or all of us individually, which, you saw mine today, Leeboy83, YNWA. And you got Couch, Nish, you got Steve, you got George, you got all of them there. So we're very vocal in what we do and then how we approach it. So by all means, follow us there. We're not a bad group of people.
Yeah, I've started to follow you guys too. So looking forward to seeing more content from you and the rest of the boys.
We'll do it again at the London Stadium.
Well, I don't even want to talk about that fishbowl. But Lee, we'll wrap it up there. Stay on. I'm going to end this broadcast, but stay on. We'll chat for a bit. Again, really appreciate the time, man. And again, thank you, man. Really appreciate it. And thanks for everyone watching out there. Appreciate it.
Cheers.